Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Babylon 5 Retrospective. No surrender, no retreat. This week on the program, we're looking at Episode 8, The Illusion of Truth. The reporter, the news ISN episode. But before we get into all that, let me welcome my co-host, the man who always lets the reporters roam around endlessly in his own home. It's Cam. Say hello, Cam.
Good evening, everyone. And yeah, there's one here now.
Oh yeah. Just give him a kick for me. All right, let's say to everybody, say hello to everyone in the chat who's showing up for the show. Dave is in the chat. Hey, welcome, Dave. Yes, it's unfortunate the Narn delegation, you were left out of this episode. Yes. Keith Studley is in the chat. Hey, good to see you, Keith. He says this is where B5 starts to depress me because it's too much like real life. Yes, we'll get into that. Who else is here that we have? Jeanette Buffington's in the chat. Good to see you, Jeanette. Yeah, welcome. And I think that's it. It says we got 7 people watching. That's great. Hey, and if you don't want to, you don't want to say who you are, hey, that's great. You can keep quiet in the background. That's no problem. We don't mind. All right, let's bring in. Do you have anything, Cam, before we bring in our panelists?
No.
Nope. Okay. Let's jump right into it. And let me bring in our other co-panelist, Jeff. Welcome, Jeff.
Well, hello there.
And let's bring in our guest panelist for tonight, which is Madman from Q2 Cast. Welcome.
I'm not here.
You're not here? What? Yeah, you are. And let me just say, hey, let us drink and be merry, gentlemen, because, who knows what's going to happen? Did I forget my Southern Comfort? Damn it! You got to stop the show. I meant to bring down some Southern Comfort.
You drinking SoCo? You drinking American liquor?
Sure, why not?
How could you afford it? I hear that there's like huge tariffs and stuff.
Oh, I bought it like 20
years ago.
It's been sitting in the. I got a giant cabinet full of booze from when my wife and I got married 20 years ago. She brought her booze out. And we have 2. We had started with 2 of everything to start off with, and she's a bit of an alcoholic. She had all kinds of stuff in there, giant things of vodka, which I don't really drink. But anyway, and Outpost is in the chat.
Well, tonight I have Jameson's. I'm drinking.
Yeah, I basically just look and see what's open. I don't want to open a new one. Finish it off first. Anyway, okay. But that's my own personal problem. Maybe I'll mute my mic and yell at my family and ask them to bring down my. I had it. I put it. Where did I put it? I left it upstairs, I think. Anyway, I'll turn it over to Cam. Let's get started. Cam, or wait a second. No, I'm forgetting everything. We have to do trivia first.
Yes, we actually had trivia.
We had trivia last week. Let's do trivia real quick, and then we'll go over to Cam. Okay, last week's questions. I'll run over them really quick from episode 7, Epiphanies. What is the first thing the newly appointed Centauri regent says? What body part is Jakar missing due to Cartagia? Who is appointed to take Garibaldi's position? Which 2 B5 villains arrive almost at the same time? When Bester tells Alita to rejoin the Psi Corps, he says, Kor's mother, Kor's father. And what is her response? And the answers, of course, are as follows. The first thing that the newly appointed Centauri regent says, I'm thinking pastels. Yeah, perfect. I'm glad that guy came back. Good to see him. Jakar, of course, loses his left eye. Zach Allen is appointed to Garibaldi's position. Bester and Londo arrive almost right after each other, and then, of course, after them, some traveling group of Elvises. If you missed that, I think
that was the best part.
That was pretty. That was a little bit of humor. That was good. Yeah. And of course, when Bester tells Lita to rejoin the Corps, she says, "In that case, Mr. Bester, I'm an orphan." Yeah, she doesn't like the Psi Corps very much. All right, I'll turn it over to Cam.
Okay, we've got episode 74 overall, season 4, episode 8, Illusion of Truth, directed by Stephen First, which is interesting.
Really?
Yes. Of course, our beloved Veer. Written by J. Michael Straczynski. Original air date, February 17th, 1997. And the production is right in line, 408. The command crew take a chance when an ISN reporter arrives on the station claiming that he wants to do an objective and truthful story on Babylon 5. A little truth, at least.
All right. Okay, good. Okay, so the episode starts off the cold open, as we call it. I guess you could call it that. Sheridan and Ivanova are in the war room. They're kind of reflecting on the war somewhat. Sheridan mentions his father, and they also that he hasn't heard from him, and also they mentioned, of course, that Zach's been doing a good job replacement. And of course, we cut to Zach right off the bat, who is is somewhat making a mistake here. He's got there's some sort of problem at customs. There's a group of humans, and they're not cooperating. They won't let their packages, their luggage be searched. Zach intervenes, makes some threats, shoots the lock off the thing, and something comes up. And I first thought this was some sort of evil device there, and I thought they were going to blast it, but luckily they go, it's a camera, and I'm like, oh, okay, they're reporters, and they look a little bit chagrined. And that's then we go to the intro of the show. So we basically we start off right after that as Sheridan meeting with a reporter. He's the same reporter. He's a little pissed off. Ivanova's threatened to throw him out the airlock. He makes a bit of a joke about stripping him naked first, and we get a little bit of a speech about talk about the embargo, and it's made very clear that it's from Earth and not from us, Babylon 5. And the journalist makes a little interesting speech about objectivity, which we can talk about. There's there's really just one sort of thing going on through the episode, and about half the episode is the report from the reporter. So I'll just quickly go over kind of things that happen, and then the report. So we have a little bit of a scene with Garibaldi. He's finding his new job is apparently finding stuff that people lost. There's a little bit of a thing about a statue. He he quickly sees it's a bit of a fake and finds out what's really going on. And there's a bit of a scene with Garibaldi avoiding the captain, so to speak. They don't seem to be on talking terms. We can talk about that through the episode. There's various things happen. The captain asks Lanier to show the reporters around the station. He shows them down below and is very open with them about it. Landro arrives, and there's he's shaking his his finger at Sheridan about something, and there's a picture taken of that. There's an interview with Sheridan and Delenn talking. They obviously make some comments that could be just construed in an incorrect way, and we also see the reporter approach Garibaldi, asking him to tell him his thing. Then from there, we watch the actual show. Sheridan, Delenn, and Ivanova watch the show in his office. There's some information that we find out. It gives a little bit of background about the government's talking about how they're, quote, liberating Mars. And it's, we took another 2 cities, and hey, let's celebrate 2 hours of curfew extension. And also a very Stalinist confession by a guy. And it's pretty obvious. From then they go to the actual report, and everything is taken out of context. We have the down below stuff is portrayed as humans living in squalor with with Lanier as their overlord, so to speak. They have an expert on who is quite happy to. He comes on the show twice. He's quite happy to psychoanalyze everybody, especially Sheridan, and then actually at one point say, yes, I'm worried about Sheridan, and I don't want to diagnose him at distance, but hey, I'm going to anyway.
I'm going to do it anyways.
he's something's wrong with him. And of course, the Sheridan Delenn interview is taken out of context. Garibaldi says quite a few things which are not very positive towards Sheridan, which I'm sure we can talk about. And it's obviously it doesn't need to be taken out of context. It seems to be shown. Within context, we think. We don't know. You never see it. But the thrust of the report is that there are they find out there's a bunch of people in cryo, which of course are the ones from the Shadow War. And Franklin denies it and looks pretty much like he's lying. But the reporter comes to the conclusion that on Babylon 5, they're taking humans, they're kidnapping them in a sense, putting them in cryo, and then slowly they're going to turn them into half human, half Minbari, kind of like Delin is. That seems to be the conclusion he comes by. And at the very end, he mentions that Sheridan's father's farm has been burned, and his dad is still missing. And that is the end of the episode. There's a closing scene, and Sheridan comes and he turns off the TV angrily. So, that's pretty much the episode. Cam.
Yes. I think I'd like to break it down into the first and second half kind of thing, because the fake story stuff is kind of standalone. It's all done in one chunk. Yeah. So other than that, though, it's really kind of a light episode in terms of things that happens. I'm struggling actually to have substantive things to talk about. I guess the blockade that they're talking about and the finances is one issue. And then they mentioned, of course, that Zach. It's kind of like a status report. Zach is now in charge of security, and they seem to be happy with that. And then, of course, we go into the scene where we see him messing up. Jeff, let's start.
Where should we start?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Do you want to talk? Well, do you want to talk about Garibaldi, since that's kind of a little bit of a development there?
I mean, but that's towards the end of the first half. Really, that's kind of the last one that they're talking to, because it starts off with Sheridan basically looking bored in the war room. It was very depressing.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's talk about that. Is, I'm watching these episodes, and I feel this big in between thing. Like on the show they have this kind of other shoe ready to fall, and I'm really feeling it. And I got to tell you, I'm uncomfortable watching the show at this point. It's like I'm sitting there kind of like, will this end? Please just get this over with. I don't want to see what's coming next. How are you taking it? This is the first time for you and Snob. How are you coming off of the war?
Well, okay. So the war was exciting, albeit very brief. To me it seemed like a 7-day war. Because that's what, basically, it was started and ended in 7 days. I mean, the buildup was horrendously long, but it's almost like Sheridan is, I don't know, waiting for that other shoe to drop, I guess, maybe, kind of. He's very, kind of making some comments, because Ivanova walks in here and says, "Oh, I thought I'd find you in here," and it's like, "Oh, well, the place seems kind of empty without, well, the war's over." And it's like, well,
it's kind of like he
really?
misses it. He misses
it. He misses the action. I don't know if maybe that's a thing.
Well, Delin did talk a couple episodes back about how he thrives on solving problems, right? And now they're kind of floating in this nebulous zone.
Yeah, there's not a problem immediately to solve. There is one big pending one that we all know of, which is of course with Earth and what's going on with that. But now he's just kind of sitting there twiddling his thumbs, going la di da di da. I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I'm bored.
It's kind of an adrenaline junkie thing. It's like those doctors who hang out, who like to do ER stuff, right? They thrive on the adrenaline and the pressure. I think that's a little bit of element of that, right? It's boring.
I find it hard to believe that the war room is empty and not trying to figure out everything that's going on with Earthdom, and trying to monitor stuff. Though I can't believe there's nobody there at all, trying to, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
It does not. I mean, he's literally the only one in the room until Ivanova walks in.
I agree with you there, but part of it is that, remember, they had this huge alliance. none of the aliens are going to give a crap about what's going on Earth. It's going to only be the Earth people.
That's
right?
internal politics.
Yeah, exactly. So they're going to be like, "Oh, the war's over. We're all done. Yeah, you guys got a civil war going on. It's your problem." Yeah. So I think that's probably what you're seeing. Though I would think I would see some humans just running around there.
Yeah, I mean, trying to gather some intelligence, at least. Okay, the
monitoring
Rangers,
things, but we don't.
The Rangers should be involved in their new mission. Which is to ensure that that we don't screw up. There should be something going on. That would be like walking into Central Command, and there literally being nobody there. There's got to be something going on. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, remember at this point, and this is after the Shadow War, and now Clark has this blockade on Babylon 5. They're having a financial issue now.
Well,
they're still trying to figure out, how they're going to get their parts, how they're going to get their food, what they can to keep the station running at this point.
And that was brought up. You bring up
it was brought up in the very beginning.
Yeah,
in the very beginning was brought up
because they're talking about transport fees and stuff like that. And so that is an excellent point. But it's it's like, well, and there's been a couple of stragglers or humans, stragglers that really don't have any particular allegiance to Earthdom. But other than that, that traffic is down. But the alien traffic is still normal.
Aliens traffic, but if you notice the outside of the station when it opens up, what's missing? The entire fleet. The fleet has broken apart, and most of it has gone back to their homeworlds.
Yeah,
I mean, of course you have
other than the ones that are being repaired and stuff.
The whites,
like that.
You have the ones that are being repaired. The White Star Fleet, part of the White Star Fleet, and a couple of extra ships, the Minbari and other ships that's around that area. But most of the bulk of the fleet have gone back home to protect their planets at this point.
Yeah, and I mean that's pretty much that's kind of just that opening scene. It's very empty.
It's very empty. It's just a repair. It's like the end of the war, and you're just picking up the pieces.
They had their celebration.
They had their celebration. Now it's time to get the brooms and the vacuums out and the repair teams and
clean up the confetti.
The
endless confetti from the last episode. Yeah,
exactly. And just try to get the station back in order again. And that's it's not really pushed that far, but you could see it from what they say at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah. At any rate, but there's not really a whole lot to this other than they cut to Zach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
remember also that this is technically the third ISN episode.
Yes.
First one you had in season 1, which you didn't have that much interaction. You only had the reporter, and that was with Sinclair talking about Babylon 5.
The one that always would walk into CNC.
Yeah. And then season 2, episode 15, and now for a word, you had the journalist that comes to the station, and that was during the Narn and Centauri conflict. And she was covering that.
Well, let me ask you guys this: did you ever get a good feeling about ISN, even when it wasn't overthrown and turned into a propaganda arm? Because I didn't.
No.
Oh no, ISN.
No.
It's Earth run. This is not. It's not basically. Oh, they had a Narn or a Centauri there reporting on it. No, it's on Earth.
Right.
It's just
but that's yet called interstellar news.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and going back to the beginning, the whole Earth had already been kind of in the grips of the of isolationism, right? From the very beginning of the show, and the reporting and everything, and the interaction with Earth officials all kind of reflected that in some way. Do you guys do you agree with that? So it's like. Obviously Clark is like a wild expansion of that. It's like he exploited the whole thing, but all of that undercurrent was there. So to me, it's like I wouldn't have trusted them before. It's like why would they trust them now?
Well, remember what happened when ISN got shut down? And the guy came up, the reporter came up, and he says, "Listen, there are things we have to tell you that the government hasn't been wanting us to tell you on this."
Right.
And then the whole channel got shut down.
And then
Yeah, exactly.
offline.
I mean, remember, Clark took over technically at the end of season 1, going into season 2.
Right.
But
At that
to
point.
Cam's point, and I agree, is that I never truly trusted ISN anyway, even when it wasn't under Clark's thumb. Before that, they seemed a bit very, they seemed pretty biased from the beginning, right? Already in the thrall of the Earth government, even from the beginning of the show, right?
And they're the only ones, really? That
Maybe
we
the
haven't
only
seen
ones
any other reporters. I mean,
maybe
we know
with international reach, maybe they're the only ones.
Well, we know about the what is it, Earth Today or whatever, or whatever the newspaper, but the digital newspaper type thing. But that's it. You got a digital newspaper and you got the ISN, and that's
it seems very single sourced.
yes,
and that's one of the things a little and we could talk about this, of course, but this is before the modern internet age, right, with social media and everything. When this was written, and it to me it really shows. It's like the and I maybe Straczynski was going for something kind of tongue-in-cheek, classic kind of propaganda stuff, but to me this seemed insanely naive, right? I mean, even if we hadn't gone through the internet age that we have, which makes the behavior seem absurd by Sheridan. Yeah, I mean, it's like you wouldn't trust anything with this. I mean, you wouldn't even start in on it, and they kind of were like, "Well, I guess they're giving us a chance," or "How bad can it be?" It's like, "Oh my God, how could you not know?"
that was just, I was like, oh, that's a horrible line.
Well, if you look at all the other worlds, all the League of Online worlds, how much, as I say, of the entertainment broadcast do you see from them, really?
Yeah.
Like there's that episode, of course you were saying that newspaper, Universe Today, which is like a knockoff of USA Today. And you got Delenn interested in it because she says, oh, it has a Minbari section about Minbari, and she wants to know what Earth thinks of the Minbari what's in the paper to that point. And it's, you don't see something like that's ever come out of Minbar or the Narns or the Centauri to that point, or any of the other races. You see most of the broadcast is coming from Earth.
Yeah.
And it's focused on Earth.
And I wonder if that's but it's very it's a very one-sided perspective from Earth. I mean,
it's one-sided, but it begs to think.
It's blatantly, obviously one-sided. One direction.
How other worlds handle their entertainment? Did they have broadcast television or some sort of internet type situation into that? And that's something that throughout this whole series you've never seen.
Yeah.
Now, did JMS leave that out, or did he do that purposely? And that's a good question to ask him.
I would have. I think I would have liked to have seen more than just ISN and Universe Today. Thank you. I couldn't remember what it was called.
Well,
and we never did see reporters from Universe Today.
Yeah. Well, they're probably a news feed like writers. I'm not so think it's so strange that they allowed them onto the station. I mean, I've dealt with the press a little bit from that from a sort of a government side, and it's kind of like you got to let them. You know that they're going to make mistakes, they're going to get things wrong, but you have to be open. And you basically have to correct their mistakes afterwards. They go and they say something. You just got to come out and they get it all wrong. You got to come out and say after, no, it's not. Wasn't like that. It's actually like this, and tell the truth afterwards. It's kind of just a thing you have to deal with. So I'm not surprised that Sheridan let them in, because I think that would kind of be the thing. Hey, we need to be open. We need to let them in, even if they know they're gonna lie about us. But my criticism would be that they didn't take enough things to do to make sure that the lies couldn't couldn't be just told out there. For example, they should have had their own camera recording everything. So when the guy splits it up, like they do on 60 Minutes, when they split things up, you can say, no, here's the unedited footage. DeLynn and you want to talk about what DeLynn and Sheridan say? They're like, oh no one will ever stop us. I'm like, you never say that,
right? The things they said were absurd, right?
Yeah, like
it was so. The kids say not media savvy, right? I mean,
yeah, not media savvy is the word, and they should be way more. Sheridan especially should be way more media savvy than that.
Well, his dad was a ambassador, right?
As a senior military officer, he would have training. He would have to have training and experience dealing with them.
Snob, to your point though, they know, Bester told them that there's this big push and propaganda is going to be part of it. And they already foiled a plot that was meant for propaganda purposes. I mean, they can't put 2 and 2 together and see that, oh, suddenly these guys show up and they do this. And, the guy soft soaping them. Even if they did believe him, it's like, well, okay, fine. And I understand what you're saying about they can't really stop them necessarily, but taking
it would look bad if they stopped them.
Okay, but them taking part in interviews, there's no way that could have turned out well. It's like, fine, go ahead, go film stuff. But
I think it could have turned out maybe not well, but it could have turned out okay in that you don't say the things that DeLynn and Sheridan said that could easily take it out of context.
Right.
And you record it yourself, and then when they go off and lie, you can make them look bad by saying, no, here's the unedited version. Here's what we really said.
But that's one part about is they're being blocked and jammed, though. They don't have a to Earth, at least, they don't have access to broadcast things to Earth.
For sure. But there are other ways to get propaganda out. They get out to the colonies. You send it in, how do things get around in North Korea? They trade USB.
Right. But the damage is this. But if what we know today is it, and why lies go on constantly on the internet and stuff is because there is no care whether you're called out on it or not. The lie is already done its damage, and people don't care about, very few people are gonna be like, well, I'm going to find the real facts on this. No, they just say, oh, boom, that's it. Then they're on to the next thing. The damage is already done. I guess it's a little. Okay, when I saw this originally, I still thought it was stupid, right? 30 years ago. It was like, oh my God, how could they be so stupid? So I don't think it's just because of our experience for the last 30 years.
Right.
So I'm forced to ask, it's like, I was JMS just trying, because it's not like he doesn't understand the media, and how this kind of thing would work either. I'm sure he's well aware of that. And again,
and then in 97, I can't even figure out what analog he's going for. I mean, obviously Dan Randall sounds like it could be, something similar to Dan Rather. But
that's true. It could be a play on that, but
I mean, yeah.
After the first Iraq War, there is no, Western, military person at a ranking of Sheridan's level at the sort of the colonel level and a higher that would not be media savvy to know, to not fall into the trap that Sheridan fell into.
Yeah,
I think so. It is a bit, yeah.
Okay.
Well, remember, all into the perspective with ISN and everything on this episode. If you notice, because the situation, which we'll probably bring up later, is that Sheridan lost contact with his father,
right?
Because everything's being blocked, except ISN.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, because there are, well, from technical, because you haven't seen it, they haven't shown it yet, but there are other channels other than ISN from Earth.
I can't believe there's not a Mars
communications with Mars, everything toward Earth is all being blocked by Clark at this point, except ISN.
Right.
So, go ahead.
So what, I mean, I guess, is there anything else to say about the setup to this that or the characters and their reactions? I mean, does anybody think that it was reasonable? That it's like, yeah, this is worth a shot. I mean, they kind of explain themselves, and It seemed wildly optimistic to me.
I think it's reasonable. I don't know that Sheridan could have made any other decision. Like, to let them allow them on there. It looks bad if you kick them off, right? Like they'll just go make up a bunch of lies and anyway. But
they could have just said no comment though.
Yeah, he should have been more aware of. I mean, well, the news media can be used to try to get your own propaganda out. So he should be trying to do that. I mean, he did it in a very him and Delin especially did it very, very poorly.
Oh, yeah. Okay, have you ever heard the thing about you don't get into a fight, with people that buy printer ink by the barrel?
Yeah, of course. I just think that my problem with I think he made the reasonable decision to let them on the station because he's trying to be open. He's trying to it's not
we got nothing to hide.
Yeah, we got nothing to hide. That kind of stuff. My problem with the scene is he didn't take the proper precautions, which I think any reasonable person, especially a captain in a military, would take to make sure that his words could not be so easily used against him. That's my problem with the scene.
Well, let me bring this up, and I don't want to mention who, what, where, when, and how, but we see that today, that certain politicians, leaders, certain things in the news, you have certain news channels that have gone out of their way, similar to what this episode has done, where basically they've had either omitted a line in the interview or just cut out a whole segment of the interview to make a different narrative.
Or rearrange it and
rearrange it.
I mean, we haven't gotten
take a
to
single word. Take out
yet.
a single word that can make a difference between something. And this is something that's gone on today.
Yeah,
to this point. And you look back at JMS, and you see this with this episode, and you see what they did in the second half of this, where basically, the shot of the cryo chambers and the situations with certain people on there, and what Garibaldi said about Sheridan. You go through this whole thing that they've twisted everything left and right. It's not uncommon to, you say, well, you should have known. A lot of the stuff we have today is, they should have known when they did the interview, but unfortunately, you can't sit back and say, well, I'm not going to do the interview. And you can, and then you don't do it. They'll make anything up at that point.
Yeah. Well, and it's just the whole. I mean, like I said, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
I just had to throw.
I mean, the thing that kind of just like, why were the security guys fighting with the reporter guys?
Yeah, that was weird.
Didn't make sense to me either.
It was their manifest. Their manifest was not proper.
Right.
That was the situation. They did a scan, and the scan didn't pick up what was supposed to be in there. It picked up something else, which was basically they picked up the drones that were in there. So depends on what it showed up on the scanner.
I've got a problem with that though. Like, I mean, they open up the things, they check them out, and they find out it's basically stuff they haven't declared. And the reporter gets on them. You're going to be on the news, and I'm like, what for? It's customs. You have to submit to inspection and customs, and you guys are refusing and starting a fight with the customs agent. How is that gonna do you think that's gonna play? Like, do they really think that's going to play well? Are they must,
Well, and what? Here's another thing.
It seemed crazy. And
this encounter with Zach.
My point, Cam. Let me just quick finish. Is that Zach seems a little chagrined, like, oh no, I screwed up, and then like, no, they're hiding stuff, and you found it, and they shouldn't be hiding stuff. Why are you, kind of going, oh, no, you should throw him in jail even.
That goofy smile on his face.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
but you think they're going to put that on air?
Yeah, they probably would. But
no. I'm not saying that basically the security team did right, and they said like, oh look, they tried to keep us they tried to keep us off Babylon 5, to that point.
Well, they should have taken the guys and put him in holding and gone through the stuff, and then
Well, no, they did.
They did.
They didn't.
The whole scene with Ivanova and her threat.
Yes, well, but I mean, right there in the bay, there should have been a holding area, like a holding cell or something like that for, and they should have, while they go in there, and then there should have been a lead up to it, like the security guys, they take him into custody and say, well, now we have to go through your stuff.
Jeff, you're asking much from an episode that's not that great.
No, I know. I maybe I'm Monday morning quarterbacking, but it's just like, but they're sitting there tussling with reporters, and I can't imagine that doesn't even seem, I could see them protesting, but
okay. Did Zach not talk to Sheridan and say, yeah, this guy already threatened me with, oh, he's going to expose me. Oh, you just made the news crap. It's like it said, Captain, clearly this guy's got an agenda, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, because he's like, oh no, some of us have tried to stay behind and blah blah blah. It's like, really,
well, the only good line in that part is like, when Ivanova, he said, did you threaten to throw him out of the airlock? He goes, what did I tell you? Take off his clothes. We can't throw out perfectly good clothes. Set him out naked.
I hated that line.
I have to say that I hated it too.
I hated that.
I thought this cutesy stuff just.
Sheridan comes across as petty and foolish. Like he could have said something like, if Ivanova had said that, he's just say, he didn't have to be petty like that. He just simply say, well, Mr. Randall, my second in command is doing your job, and we will take whatever security precautions I deem necessary to keep this station safe, blah blah blah, something like that. It
was overly snarky.
And if it if that means throwing you out the airlock, well then I'm quite happy to do that, something like that.
But you got to remember who was snarky first was basically the ISN reporter.
Well, for sure, but it doesn't matter.
Put you on TV.
This is some idiot reporter from
right.
He's not the head of the station, right?
Yeah, I did. It's the one line. The one line I did like, written. This whole episode.
I just didn't like. I agree with how Sheridan acted towards him. He should have backed up his people. I just didn't like the dialogue and what he said. It's not appropriate. I didn't think.
Yeah, I the one line I did think that was okay, because the whole strip naked, throw him out the air, like that was just like too much, over excessive. But when Sheridan says we have an open door policy, and then Ivanova is like, and an open airlock policy. that one was funny.
Yeah, I was short.
That one. That one was short.
That was funny. That was good.
Okay. And then he's like, Ivanova.
And that was good from her. That fit her.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
that was good.
Okay, I have a question for you guys. Are we to expect that old Dan Randall here was like a known reporter? Because again, ISN, it had a whole thing. Did anybody like, hey, what do we know about this guy? Has he done stories for them before? Do we know anything about him? Because if it was like, oh yeah, this guy, he's done reporting. He's been with them for years. Then maybe they go, oh, okay, well maybe he's telling the truth about this. Or is it like, we've never seen this guy before? He's he appears out of nowhere. He's probably a Ministry of Peace goon or something that's been installed here. No mention of that at all, right?
Well, look back at the older episodes on who's doing the reporting on ISN. And those people have been onto that. And then when you saw the fall of ISN, they were there. And it's like, oh, that part where it got shut down, and then when ISN came back on, you had a completely different reporter.
Right.
Yeah.
That was never there before.
Well, I think the point Cam is trying to make, correct me if I'm wrong, and I think this would have been good, is if we had a short scene with Sheridan saying, he had said earlier to Ivanova, just check up on this guy. And then we have a scene, a minute or two, where she comes back and says, I checked on this guy. He seemed, he worked with them. He worked on ISN before the purge. So he might,
his story checks out.
He might be a good guy. He might have been compromised, but his old stories were kind of like this, and they were, he questioned the government here and there and whatever. So maybe we can get something. He might be fair.
Well, he spins that whole yarn back and forth.
I understand, but that could have made it more realistic that why they accepted him. And maybe Randall maybe he's being. Maybe his family is in jail and he's being forced to do all this. We don't know.
How are you going to find that out?
We're not going to. But my point is, they could have spun it that he's generally a good guy, so we're going to let him in. Or they could have said the reverse, that no, he's a stooge of them. He's a big believer, but we're going to do it anyway for whatever reason. That would have been a nice little addition, I think.
Yeah.
They didn't. What they portrayed was they didn't do any homework.
Yes.
Yeah, none whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
And nobody even recognized this supposed TV journalist. You think at least one of the guys would be like, yeah, isn't that Dan Randall from ISN News or something? That would have been
Well, no, like he said in the episode, he goes, well, some of us, we stayed on, others had left, and it's like, yeah, and you said this directly to Sheridan that like, hey, I want to make sure that the truth gets out there, to the point.
At least an X-Files episode, what they can get out,
Yeah,
that was his implication is, I obviously I can't tell the whole truth. They won't let me, but I
no, you got to remember the fall of ISN. They sent the military in to arrest everyone at ISN when ISN was shut down.
Yeah.
Who knows what has happened to this staff?
Well, I would make the assumption that the ones that, some were willing to play ball and those ones were eventually let out of prison. The ones that weren't going to play ball are still in prison. So there's sort of a, you've got ISN is made up of
dead.
Or dead. And ISN is made up of half, people who half of them are new people who are 100% behind the government. The other half are the Quisling types that agreed to, rat on their friends. And then the best ones are probably still in prison or dead.
And we do get a hint about what happens because we do see that later on during the breaks of the whole major report part, there is that scene with the guy who's confessing, now I don't know who he's from, Trivid, whatever that's supposed to be. I don't know if that's supposed to be like a plug at movie companies or
yeah, that was
TriStar, maybe
living the fantasy of the glorification of the brave blacklisted communists.
The Red Scare. Yeah,
remember when ISN came back on and that reporter came on and she was like, "Hi, we're back, and I just want to tell you all what happened. Really, well, ISN was taken over by these terrorists." And they took over our center and tried to put out a broadcast. We officially shut ourselves down. So basically that, stop these people. But there was a massive firefight that damaged our systems. But now we're back better than ever.
Yeah. And it's a fine example of gaslighting, right? It's like everybody saw it, live. It was
exactly.
Not to mention it was with the reporters that were always
the main reporters that were normally on the channel,
right? Yeah. So okay, let's talk a little bit about Garibaldi, and then I'd like to talk about the filming and then the report. Does that sound good to you guys?
Garibaldi, you want to start off with his new business?
Yeah, if you want to talk about that, it's kind of a long scene.
It's kind of just a side thing to. Give him an excuse to be there in his office, as he tells Linear. Right. Because it gives him a place to be, and then Linear walks up, and then Sheridan comes in.
Well, what do you think about his interaction with Linear? I think we talked a little bit about that in past episodes, like that we would like to have seen an interaction with him and his friends, right? And so I kind of did like it, that portion.
Yeah, the Linear part was not bad. I mean, it was okay. Just because he's dealing with this guy who's clearly, I don't know if he's trying to smuggle stuff or he was trying to save his possessions or what, I don't know whatever, at any rate, and stuffed him in a statue that just happens to be the Drazi Drazi's patron saint of pilots or something. Like, it's like, really.
Kind of a callback to a Mel Brooks movie where the czar hid his jewels inside 12 chairs.
Yeah, I mean,
it was just the guy was just trying to get Garibaldi to do it for a lower price. It seemed like a very long exchange.
It was too long.
But I mean, what were they trying to show there? That Garibaldi has a good nose for this kind of stuff? I think we already know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that scene, that part of the scene, was
reinforced
too long.
Yeah, I guess. It just, in my opinion, it went on too long and was again too cutesy for my
Well, remember what happened at the end of the whole situation when Lanier left and he was looking at the picture.
Yeah, and then he had a flashback.
He had a
Right.
flashback.
Or-
And what
So
did the flashback say? You gotta
Well,
remember what's
you
that
work
point.
for us.
Yeah,
you work for no one else.
You work for us.
Okay, so should Garibaldi not work for that guy then?
See, now I think the implication is that he's been brainwashed to at least influenced.
It sounds like he's been reprogrammed. in some
Well,
way.
I don't know if he was fully reprogrammed, but he was
Oh.
definitely influenced to be there to try and do a bad, do whatever.
Okay, let me ask you guys about that in this way. He recently he had his whole speech about, I just want to find a way for myself. That was very persuasive in my opinion.
Sure.
That he's doing that, and now suddenly, without we've seen no development for this. Suddenly he's like, oh, Sheridan is which we can from the background we could see that, right? It's like, oh, okay, we know he's programmed in some way, right?
Yeah.
So he's doing this, but we just kind of see this shift that has no.
He snapped. It's like he's night and day. He just changed. Like the switch was flipped, and suddenly now he's
It's like go after Sheridan mode. Activate.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. It's weird. It was very
and
not Garibaldi like.
I agree, and this is one of those things that I think that could have been done way better, because there was some friction with Garibaldi and Sheridan early on, right? Where it was, he did think he overstepped his bounds, and Garibaldi, called him out on it and resigned. Remember way back with his holding Morden and all this stuff. So, they had that groundwork there where there could have been a legitimate friction between them.
But the terms that they left on was not bad.
Well,
I think Sheridan was disappointed, but now he's just bad. He's bad talking. Sheridan.
Right, but what I'm saying is, JMS did have that to work with in the background, and again, this whole idea that they they told us that the Garibaldi is basically a puppet of someone at this point.
Yeah.
Whereas they could, because if you said, hey, yeah, Garibaldi says he's leaving, he kind of soft sells him on it. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to do my own thing. And then maybe there's a scene with someone else. He's like, Sheridan, what I said is true, but Sheridan, what he's doing, I just don't want to be part of it, And then it's like, and maybe he could have referenced some of those things. Say, hey, he overstepped bounds, and I don't want to do that, and kind of build up to it, to the point where he is starting to be frustrated in a credible way. I think that groundwork was there, but instead everything is now just falling into, as I see it, this Garibaldi's programmed. Who cares? This is fake. This is all, whatever.
Yes. Well, I'll say programmed will make Outpost happy. Everybody say
yeah,
reprogrammed.
but you got to remember. Hark back to Talia. If you remember what happened with Talia and her programming, and how she went from being Talia Winters to whatever she became afterwards. The sweet Talia Winters has become like the dark evil Talia Winters.
Yeah, but she was doing things the whole time.
The Dark Phoenix.
But she was not doing it directly. It was when she was asleep. The second half of her took over.
Right.
So that,
and we saw that with her. We haven't seen that with Garibaldi.
Well, yes, but remember, Garibaldi was acting very different when he got back to Babylon 5. Then when he got that transmission, which is similar to that other episode with Adrian Barbeau, which basically sent a signal to him, and then suddenly he's completely different, goes to Sheridan and says, hey, listen, I quit. I'm resigning my position.
Yeah, but I think he was like, well, we'll miss you. Are you sure you want to do this? And okay, well, I don't understand why, but you make a good point, and I wish you well. That's kind of the and suddenly he's like, oh, he's had it out for me, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, what?
Well, but they also had the other points where it's like Garibaldi's like salty because it's like, everybody's suspicious of him when he comes back, which they should be. But when Sheridan comes back, they're cheering him, and it's like his bitterness about that. I'm saying that there are all of these elements where they could have made this a credible story of Garibaldi turning on Sheridan specifically,
Yeah.
and all of it thrown in the trash heap because we've already been told the conclusion, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. They jump right to the ending and of his where he's at now.
Yeah.
It's like we didn't get the satisfaction of seeing this change in him.
If I can just throw in a little my 2 cents on this.
Sure.
I thought the thing, the Garibaldi, I didn't think it was too long when he's talking with the guy with his statue. I kind of enjoyed the interaction. I will mention 2 things which I thought were a little bit telling or unusual. First of all, Garibaldi calls him Mr. Lanier. He always calls him Lanier, and he's all this. I mean, we understand. I can understand Lanier saying Mr. Garibaldi. That's what he always does. But what the heck is Garibaldi doing calling him Mr. Lanier? You just call him Lanier. They were buddies. And then I noticed that after
they need
Lanier
to go ride
leaves,
a motorcycle again.
Yeah. After Lanier leaves, Garibaldi and Sheridan are staring at each other. They don't say anything. Do you notice who looks down first? Who averts their gaze? Garibaldi does. And I would suggest that there's some, guilt in there, or he knows that he's wrong, or there's something psychological that he's got to look away first. That he doesn't perhaps believe that he's 100% right. He's got this beef with
his
Sheridan,
conscience, maybe.
But for some reason, why, if he feels strong about his beef and he's right, why does he look away first? Sheridan should look away first in this sense. But I think that very much tells you, what Garibaldi really feels about this. Perhaps.
Okay, why are they having that kind of face-off though at this point?
I don't know.
Are there hard feelings? Because they didn't portray that really. I mean, they were obviously.
No.
And now suddenly it just appears. It's like it's as if they had an argument. I mean, they had the thing where he resigned, and they're kind of like, okay, they came to an amiable, separation, right? And now it's like he's kind of eyeballing him as if, oh, there's some friction here. It didn't make much sense to me. It's like I missed an episode.
Yes.
Yeah. I would think that, in this scenario, that Sheridan would be a little more butthurt that Garibaldi is, quote, abandoning him. The war might be over, but there's still a lot to do. We got this whole Earth situation. Sheridan should be butthurt that Garibaldi is, quote, abandoning him. But he isn't, and we didn't see that in the last episode, or we didn't see it at all. I mean, I kind of put that in my mind. That's how Sheridan feels, but you're right. It hasn't been shown, and that's a weakness of the show so far. Sheridan's like, oh, yeah. I mean, last episode, I was surprised by that. Sheridan's like, oh, yeah, and you guys were all like, oh, he makes a good point. Garibaldi makes a good point about it. I'm like, yeah, he does, but I think Sheridan should be more butthurt about it. He might let him go, but he should be like, no, we want you to stay. I need you, Michael. You are a key member of this team. You've been here since the beginning, blah, blah, blah. But he didn't really do that.
But you got to ask to this point, the reprogramming, what's the end game situation? Is it that he's been programmed to take down Sheridan? Does he have some sort of task? Is he going to assassinate somebody? I mean, we don't know. All we know is that he's acting in this unusual way, and there are little things that are just creeping out, and we just don't know what's the end game to the situation.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just it feels awkward. I think is the whole
thing is awkward.
Transition is awkward, and story wise, it
could have been done better. Flat. It could have been written better.
Been done a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's next?
Sorry, just before we go on, can I just address this?
Sure.
Elena, yeah, thank you for coming in. We haven't seen you before. I think you're referring to the Diplomatic Act, a book by Peter Jurasik and William Keith. That's awesome. We have an episode we interviewed Peter Jurasik in about, when was it? Was it January?
January, yeah.
Late January. We did have an episode about that. Yeah, you can check that out.
Definitely, and we're hoping to have him on again at some point here in the.
Hopefully we will be able to get him on again.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. Go ahead, Cam.
Well, okay. I'd like to move into the interview as we saw it stages. What did you guys think about the choice to have Lanier show him around?
That was a bad decision. Clearly.
Well, yeah, okay.
And the reason
I don't
why it was
necessarily
a
agree.
bad okay, so now the reason why it was a bad decision, or just to have just Lanier doing it, and you're entitled to disagree with me, but here's the thing. Remember, this is ISN, right? We know they're from Earth base, and right now there's a big anti alien sentiment that's being pushed through propaganda. Why would you choose just Lanier to lead you around, especially when you know they're going to twist things? There should have been okay. I get having Lanier, but you should have had either Sheridan should have been with him, or somebody from, maybe not Ivanova because she's already made a bad impression, but there should have been somebody leading them around that was human instead of.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And it seems like they're playing on the Minbari don't lie thing, but it's like, what would a bunch of prejudiced Earth people care about that, or why would that be
Right.
credible to them?
Well, the reason he picks Lanier or someone else is because he thinks that he's trying to be. He's like, oh, they're not going to trust us humans, so we use an alien, and he can show you around. And Lanier's probably the most honest person on the station. So, Lanier's
Right.
He knows that. We know that.
The propagandized audience wouldn't accept it that way.
I'm not saying you guys are wrong, but I can see why he picks an alien, because
the Minbari were our enemies.
Things are totally open. Yeah, the Minbari were our enemies. He's going to show you, you can be more, you shouldn't have any feeling that this guy is going to lie to you. He's got no reason to do that, as a human would. And I'm not even going to come with you. And I'm not even going to watch him. He can do whatever he wants, and you can go wherever you want. I am completely open. Now, it's obviously a mistake, but I think that's why he's doing it.
But if you notice something with the reporter when they're Lanier and them walking around, you notice how the camera takes certain shots and just almost freeze frame,
like a still frame.
Still frames.
That's the foreshadow for the rest of us.
Okay, did you like that? How they did that?
Not really.
Very.
No,
free,
I actually noted that. Hey, Weatherman. Well, thanks for coming.
Hey, Weatherman.
I actually noted that because, again, we kind of knew what was coming, but this was like, it was just like, oh, it's coming. Here, well, get ready. They're gonna stick it to him. It's like it. I think that detracted from it, right? I would have rather. You held it back.
It was like shining a bright light, like, hey, we're going to bring this moment back to you here in a little bit.
Exactly. And it would have been better off if they strung you along. It's like, oh, maybe he is telling the truth. Maybe and if they did some work within the plot to build that up, to make the audience think, well, maybe he really is trying to get out a little bit of truth. And they completely undercut it, with these snapshots. At least that's how I took it.
Yeah, sorry, I mean, interrupt for a second. Thanks, Weatherman. Appreciate the gift of one of a membership. Appreciate that. And of course, hey, everybody here has to come to the show, and it's a great way to spend the time before your meds kick in. I'm glad everybody is. That's why people watch our show. But thank you very much. We appreciate Weatherman, our most loyal member. He's been here with us since the beginning. Thank you very much.
Weatherman opens the door, throws some gold coins in, and then says, "See you later." Very generous.
Yeah. He's basically the agile monk of this show.
All right, sorry. Go back to it.
Well, what do you guys think about that? The snapshots. For me, it really undercut.
It was telegraphing too strong.
Yeah. It's like, hey, we're gonna be doing this. And messing this up a little bit, and we're going to mess up this a little bit, and this. It's like, no, it should have been shown.
I liked. Who was it? One of you guys said that it would have been better to string it along and make it look like they were doing good, and that just kind of spoiled that whole idea right there, and they could have, and that just made me think of something else to mention later on, but.
Well, I'm going to take I'm not going to disagree, but I see why they did it. It's a way of foreshadowing a little bit that's going to happen, and I didn't think it was completely horrible. Was it necessary? I don't really think it was necessary. It probably would have been more impactful to see afterwards of the shot and just see how they changed it. But I'm not quite sure he made that. Why JMS made that decision.
Okay,
I want to go back and I want to look at look at this one from Keith as well too, Cam. After you
no, go ahead.
Apply. Well, this is kind of going back. So if you want to direct comment on what I just said,
I guess what I'm saying is, like let's take Londo like wagging his finger at Sheridan, right? And then they take a still shot of that. Yeah. Is there anybody that sat there and said, well, they're not going to use that? I don't know what they're going to do with that shot. Or, you know what I'm saying? Instead of playing it along and making the whole point is the whole report was there to shock you at how disgusting and twisted it was, right?
The media was being
right. And then they're showing you, and then they're saying, hey, it's going to be twisted. It's going to be, they're going to stick it to them. I think it's if I liked the show otherwise, that would have ruined the show for me. That's how bad I think that choice was to do that.
I think
I don't see it that bad, but I do see it as unnecessary and probably taking away from the final impact of the report.
See, now let me ask you this. I'll go ahead and bring up this point that I put on my this was my list for after.
Okay, well, hold on. Is Q wanted to comment before if we're going to go somewhere different?
What I wanted to say was that the thing with Londo and Sheridan, I think they would try to put the perspective that saying that Sheridan has been alien influence, and that's with the finger up, being that on there. Now, I think that's what they were trying to put out there, but poorly done.
Yeah.
So, and just sorry, before we go on, let me just. I wanted to go back at this point. So Keith mentions it was going to be a mess no matter who they pick. I think that's kind of my point about picking Lanier. Like if you pick Lanier, it's going to go bad. If you pick a human, the story is going to be like, oh, so-and-so wouldn't let us into this spot. What are they hiding? Blah, blah, blah. So I think, it's kind of, bad either way. So I'm not sure.
They could have picked Lita, who's not a military member. That would have been kind of an interesting.
No, because they would have done
Master already knows she exists. I mean,
on there. If anything, if they picked a human, it would have been Ivanova.
I'm saying they're going to spin it no matter what. I think that's
what
he's trying to say.
Which
I think it's a good point about that.
But just picking an alien is like just giving them another bullet in the chamber.
Yes, because Earth is anti-alien.
Yes, now
it's like how would the audience take that? It's like they're sticking it in our face, right? It's just so
they're running the show.
And I will point out again that they had a choice to not say, go ahead, do filming. We're not taking part.
Remember Walkabout, the family in Walkabout.
Yeah.
And how the mother, what she was saying about the Zocalo and all that, it's like, this is why it's so bad. And, Earth is not like this, to that point. And this is like episodes ago.
Yeah. And they were on a family vacation to Babylon 5 because that sounds like a thing to do.
Okay. Is there anything that anyone wants to say about any of the other before the report? Anything about any of the? I guess I do.
Do you want to talk about Delin and Sheridan?
About their little.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, I mean.
Okay. No, I mean, go ahead.
I'm kind of you're winning me over, Snob, because I do find the relationship stuff to be obnoxious at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they sit down there. They sit so close together. He asked, "Hey, there's rumors that you guys are getting married." I mean. You might get married. Sheridan has this little smile on his face, like he's a little puppy dog in love.
Yeah.
Like he should be like, no comment right away, or how you should never, well, how would you how dare you ask me that question? My personal life, something like that, right? Like,
you know what?
They should not have been interviewed together. And they shouldn't be sitting on the couch canoodling.
Right. Yes.
Into it. I mean, geez.
Canoodling.
That's
even
literally what they were.
look,
They were basically doing. You know.
even if the president of the United States was being interviewed with his wife and they actually liked each other, you still wouldn't see that. Like, it would be inappropriate. You wouldn't do that, right? Because they would be
Not. It's decorum. It's a matter of
decorum. Like,
Yeah.
if you see, I mean, of the presidents that, like, I think, for example, Obama seems to actually like his wife. They seem to like each other. They wouldn't.
You haven't
normally
followed
do
the
that.
news lately, have you?
Oh, there's something going on there. Anyway, but they seem in general to like each other, more than some other. But you never see them doing that, right? Like, and they're fairly prominent in the press.
Well,
unlike someone like Bush.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't. It's not appropriate. I'm not going to be, all over my wife, even if we are married. And stuff.
It's not a funeral. Now, if it's a funeral, it's a different type of situation.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, come on.
You would see the first lady sitting by, the president.
Yeah, sitting together, but not like that way they are.
Right. It's like,
Okay, them being in a relationship at all looks bad again to the anti-alien people.
Of
right?
course.
Yeah.
And they should know that.
I'm going to
and
put
see
this out there.
that they should have done as an investigative journalist, like, oh, and we've discovered that they're actually in a relationship where they saw them talking and being maybe a little close or something like that. Not like right there in the freaking interview. You know what I mean?
That wouldn't be so bad. Secret.
Well, I think that it's the snob thing in terms of that is they couldn't really hide that. But I agree that they shouldn't have done anything to boost it. That said, the one thing where he asked about, he's like, oh, you're getting married. And Sheridan kind of said, no comment for now, and it was, and he kind of had like a little smile, like, that was like the one thing that I thought was done well on his part, because it's hard to misconstrue something that just seems like a friendly, maybe we'll talk about it later, kind of thing, a personal thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying they should have portrayed that, but because they did, I thought that was the one reaction that was not bad.
Okay, but if they were sitting in separate chairs, or they asked them separately,
Sheridan shouldn't have done. I mean, I'm not saying the show shouldn't have done that. Sheridan shouldn't have done that, right? Like, that's a mistake on his part, but it does show you something from the show, right? Like, so it's good that way.
Well,
when I saw this in the 90s,
guilty, I guess.
Yeah, when I saw this back in the 90s, and they were doing this, and they're doing this interview, and all the first thing that went to my mind, Jerry Springer and Maury Povich.
Yeah.
At this point, is like, oh, you're getting married, you're marrying the alien. How is that going to be in the situation? Thinking that in your mind.
Think about the children.
Yeah. What about the children? How are they going to be? Because thinking 1990s, what was popular? Jerry Springer, Maury Povich, and all these other shows. To that period, and that's the thing. The first thing that came out of my mind when I first saw this.
Maybe I don't know.
Well, I don't want in the interview we see this other stuff, but how easy is it for someone to go, oh, well, I see where he's coming from now, because she's got him wrapped around his finger or around her finger. That is so, that is exactly. That people will have that reaction at the drop of a hat. You know what I'm saying? It is so easy.
It's only been 10 years.
Even today.
It's only been 10 years from the Minbari War. There's still be a lot of people that hate them.
A lot of veterans would be, still kind of bitter about it. I mean,
well, and
dirty boneheads.
Well, and this is the thing exactly. where that soldiers get hooked up with someone from the country where they're operating, and that's historically not promoted, right? It's frowned upon, and there would be a stigma behind that, right? I'm saying classically, interracial stuff was very frowned upon in the past, right?
You're talking Vietnam. We're talking Vietnam War,
Korea, Vietnam.
Right,
yeah. But and the thing is that Ken makes a good point. But it's usually private so and so, sergeant so and so, right? This is the captain. I mean, this guy is a senior officer. This is different than Private Bloggins bringing home his.
Well, it would be right? more frowned upon though. Right?
Yes, exactly. It's way worse.
What I'm saying is that JMS seems to be capitalizing on kind of, like the thing with the blacklist scene and all that. He's like trying to, take those historical points and kind of bring them into this. And I'm saying this is one of them that again would have been very obvious, obviously a negative, right?
Yeah.
You see what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's they didn't really go too heavily in that direction. They did exploit that a little bit, but it was somewhat different the way they did go. But
I think you probably wouldn't have to exploit, like nowadays we have to sort of mention it and people wouldn't necessarily, not everyone would, realize it. But I think back then in the 90s, when it's only been 20 to 30 years since Vietnam, for example, that
Right.
might be a little more closer to home. People would get that reference without having to have it explained to them.
Right. Okay. Anything else that anybody wants to say about the actual footage or any of that before we get to the
Do you
aired
want to?
portion?
Do we need to mention what they actually say? Because it's really it's quite obviously easy to be turned. No, we'll never let that happen. I guess maybe we don't.
Sure.
Need to talk about that.
If you want to mention a few of those comments, like they wiped away and all these. Well, the point is Sheridan's like, oh, we made you short. It's like, oh, we thought we did a pretty good job. We kept things short. It's like, oh my god, are
that
you
later? Yeah, that strikes me later. No, we don't have to worry. We kept everything short and to the point. We didn't say anything that could be misconstrued. I'm like, what are you talking about?
You said all kinds of shit.
You said
everything you said was going to be misconstrued.
All right, Weatherman, good to see you. Thanks.
Take care.
You have a good one too. Good night.
Thanks, Weatherman.
So I don't know. Maybe we don't want to talk. I mean, that was fairly obvious. You don't need to beat that to death. But I was watching, first time I'm watching it. I hadn't seen it before. And he says, oh no, I'm like, oh, there's a mistake. Oh my, don't say that. They're going to cut that. Oh, don't say that. They're going to cut that.
Well, and the other thing is, it's like, he said things like, oh, they asked him and he's like, oh, we want to, rejoin the Earth Alliance as soon as they should have had, like Snob, you were saying, he should be more media savvy. They should have statement. If they want to try and use this to their benefit, then they should have statements that it's like, or, that they either somehow weave in. It's like they ask them a question and they keep redirecting to what they want to say. It's like
exactly.
President Clark, blah, 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 lay out your Declaration of Independence talking points, to lay out the evidence that, Clark did kill him, all these things, say, yeah, this was suppressed, but make it as difficult as possible for them to twist your words up by saying what you want to say instead of responding to the questions that they're clearly are designed to get you to say things that, they could use.
I mean, Sheridan has less media savvy and less media training than the average person in America who's running to be a dog catcher. Those guys are better media training than this guy. I mean, he's just completely out of it.
Yeah, and well, we could again, if anybody wants to bring up any of these quotes, we could do it in the other segment too. So
because they're all brought up again. This was very much. We filmed half of it and then threw half of it together. Again, for editing.
So, okay. Again, I don't want to review the whole thing, but the report goes on, and I did think it was kind of interesting that they, they had other features in here. They're throwing in the kind of the daily propaganda stuff. And
I like that.
Yeah, I did too, because I thought that gave us a bit of a broader view
of what's going on Earth.
Well, there was a couple of times.
But who opens the broadcast?
Not
chick.
Yeah, some
Allison Higgins, which is the girl when they came back online. She was the one that was like, "Hi, we're back."
Yeah. And I mean, there was a couple of scenes. I made a note of a few of them. It's like, well, okay, so they the Mars thing. I think we already mentioned that they reclaim 75%. And as a reward, you guys get your curfew extended by 2 hours. 2 hours. Make sure you go out and celebrate tonight. It's like, well,
and see, I take that as obnoxious, right? It's like, are you kidding me? It's like you're stomping on my head and you're doing it 2 times less today. It's like, and I'm supposed to be grateful for that.
Well, but I think that's what JMS is trying to get out, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sure. But what I'm saying is we all experience that in recent history, right? Yep. It's like, oh, you get to celebrate the 4th of July if you do X, Y, and Z. It's like, Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't want to get it. I don't want to get into that topic. I don't want to get into that topic, but just
Yes.
we've witnessed this, right?
I felt it was a little. I mean, it was a little bit ham-fisted for JMS, but as you Cam mentions, maybe it's not. I mean, we still see that kind of thing today. People are, are not going to be like, oh, you get 2 hours of curfew time. Wow, big deal.
Two hours additional. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's doing it on purpose to try to, show us that they're the evil guys and but yeah, it was.
I think there's a lot of breadcrumbs that are dropped in this on the interludes of this report.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's future. I mean, of course, you've got the reconstituted Senate, because I guess Clark had dissolved the Senate, so now the Senate is back. Of course, it's his Senate, the way he wanted it reconstituted, and of course now they have this investigate. That, of course, leads to the whole alien sympathizer. What is it? Alien. What was the group called? Madman, you usually know. The panel or the Senate inquiry.
Oh God!
Oh, see, but you know what I'm talking about. Basically, it's the
I know what you're talking about.
It's supposed to be like the whole.
It's like House Committee against for un-American activities.
Yeah. Basically, it's the Senate, whatever.
Yeah.
Inquiry into the alien sympathizers.
In terms of JMS's approach to this, I think he was trying to be a bit ham-fisted. I want to be fair to him about that. Is he was trying to make these things kind of over the top and such. And that's okay. I think that's all right to do. But we've already noted the other errors in there. But I don't think that's a problem.
That was not an error.
It's a choice, which I think is valid.
Yeah, I mean the Stalinist confession was by the book.
Yes,
right out of the Stalinist playbook.
Did you catch his name? Lee Parks.
Sorry,
Lee Parks, I think is his name.
Well,
Lee Parks.
Well, all the names that were used.
I helped alien, and you could see he was distressed and been probably tortured. I'm
definitely
guessing
mentally tortured for sure.
Probably Psychor was involved.
Not physically tortured as much because you don't
to force a confession out of him. Yeah.
It was right out of the Stalinist playbook, and of course, all the names that are used are people who are blacklisted from the 1950s.
Were they? I was going to look up those names and see.
They are all names of people who were blacklisted, who were blacklisted from that 1950s committee.
Mm-hmm.
They were all. I don't know if you guys mentioned that earlier, but
yeah. I was going to look them up, but I was like, I already watched this thing twice. There was a couple of other little things, of course. Apparently, did you know that what was it?
So sorry, they were all on the Hollywood blacklist of the 50s. All 4 names of that were used in that portion.
Yeah, the lunar colony was started construction 7-8 years ago now, apparently.
Right. Yeah. They had
the. Yeah. Oops. They did a good job for most of the series so far, trying not to put things in too much. I think there's a couple of times they slip. This is another one where it's like, you just kind of,
It takes you out of it a bit, doesn't it?
It does.
Not to me, because I just considered it an alternate universe. But
yeah, I got to put it in this perspective because the way this is, the propaganda and all that. Do you remember what happened 2 years prior to the airing of this episode? What happened?
Windows 95
at this time. 95, right? Do you know what was released at that time? Alien Autopsy. Do you remember that? Where they had that pseudo documentary that the government supposedly had an alien and all that, which was reenacted in the X-Files on the episodes Nalsa and Jose Chung from Outer Space. And it's, and you look to this, the way they shot this, JMS shot this, and it's sort of like, look what's going on over here. Mm-hmm. We have over here going on that you have people in cryogenic
They're
state
creeping around.
What is going on? Yeah, they're creeping around. The way they shot this, it's like it's creeping around to that, which kind of like throws the hint,
Quick,
when
we
you
gotta
saw
go.
Alien Autopsy. Yeah.
I was waiting for Gerald Rivers to walk out. I'm sorry, Geraldo Rivera.
Jerry.
Gerald Rivers.
Did you notice the when the ISN broadcast starts? I noticed that the woman is sitting on this pedestal. It looks like it's about 50 feet high. Like, what the hell is going on in that studio? Do they have to like climb a ladder to get into that thing, or what's the deal?
Yeah. It's like the Senate thing in Star Wars.
Yeah. This is huge. I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. Anyway, that's just a side note.
Okay, let's get into some of the details of. So clearly, the interview. They had this plan. That they executed in here, and there's a couple elements of it. The one is the whole thing about with the expert, right? And
Dr.
again,
Hideri.
yeah, where he's again the expert thing, which again we've all lived through, and that I was literally just squirming in my seat with that at this point because it's so fresh in my memory,
Yeah.
But it just seems so slimy, and just skipping to the end real quick. It's like, oh, I don't want to diagnose someone remotely, but I will.
But I'm going to.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like you got to be kidding me. But here's the thing: as ham-fisted as all this is,
it's true.
this kind of thing works like a charm still. Right. Even though we're sitting here saying, oh, how can you not be media savvy about this kind of thing? Still works on many people.
Yeah.
But the other thrust was the the whole frozen humans thing. What did you guys think about the way that they, just from broad strokes? I know you could talk about any details you want, but how they put it together and twisted things. Do you think it was?
I think it was careless of the doctor, and this is probably pre-HIPAA, but it was very careless of the doctor to, or for the person that was calling the doctor just to say, "Hey, yeah, we're doing blah 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 blah," right over the,
Right.
It wasn't
well, that's Babylon 5 though. Just talk about security things in the middle of Zocalo. And,
yeah, that's par for the course, I guess.
Especially when you have little cameras that are just flying overhead.
Right. They knew that they were there, and they still just like, hey, let's get those cryo units up. It's like,
I mean, they know they already have cryo units. I mean, just the fact that they have cryo units and they're, you getting them, repaired or fixed or getting them up, that really, secret information. Now it does kind of twig the reporter, and he's going, wait a second.
Man, this is basic OPSEC, right? They know. Franklin knows what it means, and the other people know what it means.
Is it a secret that these people are here?
Yes,
I think so.
yes,
Because
it is.
Because I think that if I'm Sheridan, maybe I should release this information. Hey, you wanna slander the Earth? Here's what EarthGov was up to. They took all these people who were Psi Corps types, and they put them in. They were going to give them to the shadows. That's what he should be doing to fight back against Clark. Again, he should be releasing that information. Look at them all. We're trying to save them. We're trying to figure out a way to get this crap out of them.
And maybe that would have been one of the reasons why somebody like Sheridan or the doctor should have been taking them on a tour of that and say, yes, we rescued all of these victims that were kidnapped from Earth by the shadows and manipulated, and with the
I don't think that would have worked. They would have cut that out.
Oh, sure, they would have cut it, but I mean, it would have been at least then you're not trying to hide it. And
this is what Sheridan needs to put out to counter their propaganda afterwards. Like, let them say the bad stuff, the lies first, and then.
What are they hiding? The doctor's denying.
Jeff has exactly. Jeff has a point there though, because he did deny it. So the denial is the story. Weapon, right? It's like, no, you don't comment on that, or like you said, you say, we don't comment on. I'm not going to comment on patients, for their privacy. Again, it's an outright lie, and you don't think that they're going to be able to use that. You see what I'm saying? When you make a declaration,
I absolutely thought they were going to be able to use it. I knew they were going to use it in the story. It was.
Yeah, but you got also remember to the point that ISN and Earth with the exception of Bester, doesn't know why are these cryogenics here. They don't know that they're basically Bester had betrayed them. They intercepted these Psychor freezers that was supposed to be slated for weapons for the Shadows.
Yeah, right. But Outpost Nerd here mentions that you're right. They'd
Maybe.
spin it anyway, which is why you
I agree.
don't say
No.
anything.
Yeah, so we don't comment on patient privacy. Yeah, that's an excellent thing. And
The best thing you can do, again, everybody that's what does a lawyer tell you? Shut your mouth, right? It's like this is PR 101.
anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of public opinion.
Right. So,
but the way that you counter this propaganda is that you let them come out, you let them say their lies first, and then you release your own propaganda, and
It'll
you
never
say,
get aired.
"Hey, this is what happened." Yeah, I mean that's the problem. But you just basically counter. You say, "No, this is they said this. They're liars. This is what's happened. These guys did this. Clark is hiding this because of for this reason, because he was part of the group that transferred these people and turned them over to the Shadows. Blah blah blah." Right? Like that's what you do, even if it's not true. You still say that, right? Counter propaganda. But
we rescued these victims, and
yeah, exactly.
They've been
wait for them to do their lies. Now, but I totally agree with you guys. They would have spun it no matter what. I agree with Outpost Nerd in that sense. They're just, you have to let you kind of can't stop them getting their propaganda out. You have to try to counter it afterwards and show them to be liars, and that sets the stage for the next time too, when people are going to hopefully start to believe you, and they'll be like less likely to believe ISN the next time.
Yeah, the issue, again, we could say, well, I mean, I said it myself before. It's like, yeah, you should be trying to get out your message, but even that is, they have complete power of deletion, right?
Yes.
So you really can't do it.
Isn't that what the Rangers are supposed to be doing, though?
Well, you could be using them to do something.
I mean, that would be the thing that you would want to
smuggling in information.
Yeah, it's counter propaganda.
Yeah.
We know that they have that pipeline because they've got the religious leaders and such that are doing things, and we also know that Narn was freaking able to get messages in and out, under direct military occupation.
Control, yeah.
I mean,
but most of that communications is within that zone onto there. Now, sending anything to Earth directly as a communication, it's being blocked.
Yes, that's why you have people like the Rangers to curry that information in and to get it out in the hands of the public. You're not going to get it out ISN, but you can get it out.
You need a broadcast center to do that.
Why?
In other words,
okay.
Mars is under lockdown. Earth is under martial law. To the point. You have jammers that are jamming the broadcast outgoing and incoming.
There's this great little thing called paper.
Well, there's another end of this that we're not talking about though. Is Babylon 5 already does have their information network, right? They were using when the Vorlons were attacking everybody and such, which is clearly getting out to the aliens. The Earth is not blockaded from everyone. Centauri Prime and Earth presumably still have their own
diplomatic relations. Yeah.
Right now. And again, conveniently wasn't mentioned because they try to play the whole thing with Londo and Sheridan as being a thing while Earth and Centauri Prime are cozied up together. So it's like, that didn't make a lot of sense either. It's like, well, why? Well, you're accusing him of this, but don't we have this deal with the Centauri? How is that different?
Yeah.
But remember,
my only point.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Babylon 5 they can't beam stuff to Earth. I mean, it's obvious, right? My point is not, but Sheridan, if he is if he wants to fight this propaganda war, he needs to find ways to get information to Earth, to the other colonies, and he can do that. There are ways to do it through the aliens, etc.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Get his own propaganda out. So
these other alien races do have interaction with Earth.
I agree that we can't simply beam to Earth, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that Sheridan should be recognizing that this is the beginning of a propaganda war, and he needs to fight it on his own front. And there are many ways to do that. And like I mentioned, the North Koreans apparently in the higher levels of North Korean society, they pass around USB
Mhm.
things with
Well, they've got the
movies
data
with West.
crystals. They could
Yeah,
pass around these data crystals.
it doesn't
Smuggling
matter.
them in.
The point being, there's ways to do it.
Well,
how
that's
the
why
North Koreans put out movies that young North Koreans see various Western movies they're not allowed to see. So there are ways they could do it, and that's what Sheridan should be thinking about to try
Yes.
to counter this problem.
But it's even worse though, because they've already established that they do have these intelligence networks and these routes, right? The show has established that they're there, and suddenly they disappear for the purpose of this episode. You see
Well,
what
he's
I'm
not.
saying?
I mean, I wouldn't. I think you have a point, Cam. I'm not saying, but I don't expect him to, have his propaganda ready away. He's not going. But
wasn't that our
future
introduction? That was our introduction to the Rangers, wasn't it? On Mars, when they were trying to smuggle information out.
And they're
Well, they
obviously
were.
a great, a great thing to do.
That's literally what they. That's what they're for. Why aren't they? Why aren't they trying to use that? Why aren't they trying to use back channels through Londo? Why aren't they? There's.
You're right.
We don't know that they're not doing it, but I'm saying in a future episode we should see some of that.
Maybe this is a setup. I hope this is a setup for.
I hope so too. We don't know, Jeff, because we haven't seen any further on.
Okay,
right.
Snob. What I'm saying though is that the whole premise of this and them going along with this interview was, oh well, maybe we can get our message out. No, you're an idiot if you're doing that, because you already have another pipeline to get your message out, and instead you're going to do the riskiest, most potential negative consequence version of it. It's like it just doesn't make sense.
I don't agree 100%. I mean, I agree partially, but part of it is, it's letting your enemy make a mistake. So allowing Clark to come in here with his propaganda machine, spin up a bunch of lies, which you can easily prove are lies later, is actually a good strategy to get them to go out, because it'll really destroy their credibility later. So that's not a bad idea if that's what Sheridan's doing. I have no indication that that's what he's doing at all in this episode. So I do agree with you.
Well, and also this is coming off the heels of Bester telling them specifically that they're on a propaganda push.
Yes.
And again, it's like someone has geared up for a war. They're ready for this fight, and then you're like, "Yeah, I'll step in the ring with them." It's stupid. It's just plain stupidity, and I can't get over that.
And
this episode.
For my point to make sense, there should be a small scene where Sheridan says something like, "Don't worry," he could have just said at the beginning of this, no, let these guys say whatever they want. You tell them whatever you want. I'm not going to stop anybody from talking to them. We'll get them later. I have a plan. Like that's what he should be saying, which would let us know. I'm saying how it should go.
Sure.
But he's, we don't have that set up in the show at all. So I'm agreeing with you overall. He should be,
this whole episode was set up.
It makes Babylon 5 look like a bunch of idiots. So.
Well, you have to remember also too, because you guys were saying, that the aliens have communications with Earth. Look at this broadcast. What are they pushing? Aliens taking over Babylon 5. Aliens taking over John Sheridan. They're talking PTSD situations. Oh, because he was in the war, and now you got to the point where now he's gotten to the what do they used to call that?
Stockholm
when you're kidnapped.
He called it. Well, it's Stockholm syndrome, but they called it
syndrome. Thank you.
They called it
Stockholm
Helsinki syndrome.
Yeah, that he has Stockholm syndrome because of the alien sentiment. Do you think at this point, because of this, Earth still has communications with the Centauri or any of the other races?
Well,
I don't
yes.
think so.
Okay.
But we haven't seen anything.
We have no indication that they don't. And if they don't, but if they didn't, Earth would be the one that's isolated. Yeah. This would be, their economy would be crashing, right? I mean, none of that I understand what you're saying is that the push would seem to indicate that they're doing that. That's another reason why it doesn't make sense to me, though, because there is no indication of that. And if it was, they would be the ones suffering.
Then why push it on ISN? You
Exactly.
have to remember, they're pushing this signal out. through the sphere, to the illegal and non-aligned world, and all. The universe is seeing this because the signal is coming from Earth, and they're seeing it on Babylon 5. They're seeing it on Narn, they're seeing it on Centauri, they're seeing in most of the other worlds because ISN is broadcast throughout.
I don't see why that matters.
Well, if
Like,
you're
how does that
sitting
matter?
there
To,
and they
like
said,
Clark is trying to keep Clark is trying to keep his own backyard in order, right? He's not worried. Right. He doesn't give a crap what the aliens think. So he's just worried about. It's just like North Korea. They're sending out stuff. We're watching it and laughing what North Korea says, but North Korea doesn't care what we think about it. It only cares what its people think about what.
Yeah, but what they're putting out is like, no offense, Snob, on this one. It's like, hey, we don't like them Canadians. Them Canadians, they're tossing a lot of stuff on our end, and they caused a lot of problems.
They're smoking us out.
They're smoking us out. But no, this is what's happening because when you see this interview, the Londo situation, the whole cryogen, the PTSD, Stockholm syndrome, and all that, and who they're putting the blame on. It's not that they're blaming Sheridan. They're blaming the aliens.
Yeah.
How would you be feeling if you're from Centauri or Narn or any of these other worlds and you're seeing this on their broadcast? Well, I think, we should stop dealing with Earth if they feel that we're doing this.
That would be some of the responses that we should be seeing is from some of the non-aligned worlds, but them discussing in their governments about, well, if that's the way that humanity humans feel about us, well, we don't want to have anything to do with them, but we haven't seen anything to that effect, really. We've been kept in the dark. I did find it ironic that they called it Helsinki syndrome instead of Stockholm syndrome. There is no such thing as Helsinki syndrome, although there was a movie called that.
No. If you remember Patty Hearst, that's who I was thinking of.
Yeah. That's Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
But they called it something different. They call it Helsinki syndrome, which is like, okay, I get it. Funny.
Well, so
we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. That seems. I don't know that that's the propaganda push. One of the propaganda pushes they went there. It's like, oh, they're experimenting on humans, and to the alien. They're pushing the alien stuff really hard still, and I'm not sure how that. What good is that going to do other than isolate Earth more?
Well, right? Because it gives Clark absolute power and authority over Earth.
But Snob is saying the thing about maybe so, but it's not like Earth is the analog of the United States today. There are other greater powers, or like the Minbari, right? That it's not like Earth can dictate things to the rest of the galaxy,
right?
In this world, and so insulting and attacking. The bigger
everything
powers,
else out there,
it would work to isolate you, right? Yep. And now a dictator like North Korea, yeah, they might be satisfied with that, but it doesn't seem like the best choice they could have made. But that's what they went with, though, and I guess this is the sentiment from the beginning is Earth is anti-alien, or there's an anti-alien sentiment among Earth. So do you guys think it's persuasive? I mean, do you think that if you were Clark, it's like, yeah, that's a good idea. That's
but maybe they're just they started digging a hole and they figured, well, might as well go all the way down.
It could be.
I don't know. I mean, that's they banked everything on that, and that's obviously what they're trying to portray with the sentiment on Earth, with what's going on with Delenn and Sheridan, and and the fact that the Minder or the Keeper or whatever they called, a high-ranking Minbari official.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's not, but of course they're going to spin it that way.
Yeah,
they're trying to make it look like Minbar took over Babylon 5.
I'm just saying, what's the end game here? It's like. Where is this eventually leading? It's like, oh, we make Babylon 5 look like stooges of aliens. Okay. And then what?
Yeah.
Because remember, they
still-
said that their goal was to knock the influence. The goal of the
pillars.
propaganda push,
Yeah.
right, was to separate the aliens from Babylon 5. This would seem to work in the opposite direction of that.
That's true. That's true. They're not winning hearts, winning minds, and influencing people from outside of Earth. They're definitely literally alienating them.
Right. So I don't know. Again, this seems to me like it was like, oh, I want to do this episode and rail against, uh, uh, show how evil the media, which I'm not disagreeing with that, but it's like it didn't. I don't know. This whole episode just lacks credibility for me.
Yeah, Keith has got a point.
I found
That's where I was going.
Yeah, I found the propaganda overall a little bit weak. I mean, when you're watching it, you say you're a human and you're watching this from a critical perspective. You see Lanier walking around, they say this is an official, and he's
ranking.
This and that. He never says anything, right? They show, oh, these are humans living in squalor. I see lots of aliens running around, right?
Mhm.
Like a lot of what the only time, Sheridan, Delin, their only time they're are we get people talking, and then of course it's like the cut. You notice the cut. It's obvious that the guy is asking questions afterwards. I mean, people don't know, but we do because the background is different than that room.
Yes. Yeah.
But you might be able to figure that out as a human yourself. You go, wait a second, that background looks different. That shot looks different. Doesn't look like he's sitting in the same.
His hair is a little different.
And
whatever. Yeah.
So, and then of course Garibaldi is, that seems very, very true. But even with Londo, they're blah blah blah, shakes his fist at him. They could be doing anything, and Sheridan goes, oh, he could be telling them to screw off, like you don't know. And why wouldn't they show that if Sheridan is all bending over and to Londo? Why not show what he's saying and all that stuff? And they don't, and that's going to raise some suspicion amongst anybody watching this, I would think, if they were any media savvy. Even the I thought the and this is why I think this is good, because I think that's what he's trying to show. The thing with the cryotubes. They're like, oh, and this, oh, whisper, cryotubes. Oh, we got to go now. And then, cut the thing and go to the, like, you don't hear any banging. You don't hear someone like, hey, stop. Nothing like that. It looks very fake from the Earth side. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And I'm assuming they're doing that on purpose to make it look as amateurish as possible, JMS's. But
I
don't
think
know
we
for
saw a
sure.
reporter do
Well,
that.
well, again, remember what I mentioned before, 1995 Alien Autopsy. How generic and cut and really bad on a VHS camera that this was shot on, and basically, you're like sitting there like, oh God, could this been true? Does it not? To the situation. And then when you see it from the point of view in the X-Files, and you're like saying, wait a minute. Somebody did some nice editing there.
I think, Jeff, you were about to mention the reporter in the boat, and the guy walks by in his boots. Oh, we're flooded. I got to be in this canoe. And then the guy
you see that all the time.
3 inches of water.
Anytime there's a tropical system threatening the coast, or it's like, oh my God, well, they're standing in a ditch. So you never mind that they make it look like, oh, look, the whole place is flooded. There's like 3 inches of water, and they're standing in a ditch, so it's comes up to 2 feet on them. But yeah, you see that all the time.
There are peaceful protests here.
Yeah.
The point about the experts' comments, I think, Cam, were very much, like I said, I don't want to comment, but here I'm going to. Yes, he's crazy.
And we've seen stuff like that. I mean,
that
even
was
recently too.
That was pretty obvious. I think, though, part of here's a bit of a theory. I'm not sure if it's true. So the mentioning, there are. What do you guys think about the reporter? Is he true to his word? Is he trying?
No.
Is he actually a bad guy, or
Yes.
did he follow up on his promise with Sheridan to say, I want to squeak in as much truth as I can. It might only be very small.
They didn't squeak in any truth.
Okay. Well, okay. For number one, he mentioning Helsinki syndrome when it's obviously it's Stockholm syndrome, right? Is that a a mistake by the show, or is that a purposeful thing by these guys to saying that no, this expert doesn't know what he's talking about?
Actually, let me bring a little history up. 1988, Die Hard had the same mistake.
Yes.
So okay, so is that
maybe
for
a
sure?
nod
Maybe
to
that's a
something
reference
else?
to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
But
was
maybe
also
is it a hint that the expert is an idiot and doesn't know what he's talking about? Also, there is I would disagree, Jeff. There is a little bit of truth. I mean, at the very end, the reporter gets out to Sheridan, who doesn't know that his father's farm has been burned down and he's missing, either dead or on the run. So is that the small amount of truth that is gotten out of this entire thing? Is that something that is being sent to Sheridan, or is it just
that was a stab in the back? That was
yes.
Well,
was
it was used that way, but maybe that's the only way he can get out a little bit of truth, because that's the only, perhaps
is
that
it
might
a
be
truth,
the only.
or is it trying to draw Sheridan off Babylon 5?
It could be, but it also might be the only truth in this entire report, right?
Yeah.
And it's being given to Sheridan. I don't know. I haven't seen what else is.
Truth is suggestive.
But it could be a way for this guy to say, hey, look, I'm giving you some information, Sheridan, and I can only give you. It's true. I can only give it to you because I'm obviously using it. My handlers will let me get it out there because I'm using it to poke you in the eye.
Okay,
but you do have some
flag
information
on the play.
Well,
I got to call flag on the play. I'm sorry. I got to call flag on the play because you put to the perspective. It's like, oh yeah, the reporter got there to the point. You're telling me that an ISN reporter got approval to leave Earth, cross the line, the boundary lines through lines that the EarthGov has shut down to Babylon 5, and get in there to do a reporting that basically would be against EarthGov's policy right now through Clark.
What are you talking about?
Sent there. He was sent
I know
there.
I know he was sent there. Of course
he was sent there.
Yeah. Right, but what does he say? My point is, what does he say to Sheridan in his little speech at the beginning? He talks about getting a little bit of truth out, right?
Okay, but that wasn't the topic of the truth. The truth was their story, not some unrelated thing that would be devastating to Sheridan. I think you're incorrect about that. I understand what you're saying, but I think that's not at all what was meant to be presented there.
I'm only putting it out there as a.
That's fine. I just think that it doesn't fit what you're saying.
No. Yeah. This was an attempt to get footage from Babylon 5, to use it against Babylon 5, to create that basically Babylon 5 is under the control of aliens, and John Sheridan, his mind has been taken over by aliens. He's under Stockholm syndrome to the situation, and this is what they were trying to do. They're trying to convince people back home on Earth, on Mars, and the aligned colonies that, hey, look, Babylon 5, you can't trust them. You can't trust what they say. To that point.
Of course, that's all true for sure. My only point is that he says at the point even a little bit of truth, and then maybe that is the little bit of truth that Randall gets out.
I think you're
Sheridan. Here's what's happened to your family.
I think you're stretching. You're reaching. You're reaching at air. It's. I see what your point is. It's just I don't.
Yeah,
it's the wrong way. I mean, it's like nothing, because it's trying to get the truth out to the people on Earth about what's going on, which we know wasn't going to happen. But he didn't. There wasn't any truths at all. I mean.
Yeah, I think it runs contrary to the thrust of the entire episode.
Right.
It's
right. That was a poke in the eye.
Yeah,
that's what that was.
But that's okay. Snob can
agree to disagree. I'm just putting the possibility out there, and I think that there's nothing there that says that. I mean, yeah, it was used. It was a jab at Sheridan for sure, but that's maybe the only way he can get out the truth to Sheridan. Was to do that.
Yeah, but now you've got Sheridan going to be even more concerned, because
my point is that maybe Randall actually kept his word that he said to Sheridan, now in a very, very tiny way.
Yeah,
but, I got a bridge to sell you.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So
Okay.
where are we at now? The last the part where they're actually watching the whole thing, and then after that.
Sure. What do you think about it? I you know, I mean, it was a kick in the balls, right? So
Yeah,
then
I could have done without this scene, the ending
Okay.
scene on this.
Interesting.
Where
would
where
Really?
where
really,
everybody one by one they
well,
walk
when we
off,
do
and
quarterback,
then
when we do quarterback, and I'll explain how I
I
would
thought
have
it
done
was
this
great.
episode. I don't know. We could have done without it, and in quarterback, I'll explain
Jeanette's
what.
on my side.
I got a mutineer in
There
the
you
house.
go. Jeanette's the smartest person in the chat. There you go. I'm not saying what I'm saying is true. I'm just saying that it's a possibility.
Yeah.
And maybe Randall's not so bad.
I think
Anyway.
he's smarmy, slimy, typical.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have any other points that we missed that you want to, go over? Or are we ready to move towards the?
I think again, that may be a Monday morning quarterback comment that I was going to mention a couple of times, but
Okay, we've got that and final thoughts, so you can bring it into there if you want.
okay.
Let's do the
I think
last
you want to do that. I was just gonna.
okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna mention it. So how do you think it would have played if they would have been presented and seen, and you wouldn't have had to watch the whole thing, but where they were shown what the report was going to be, and then they see it on broadcast and it's completely different from what they were shown. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, this is how it's gonna, this kind of get a run through of it, and then so they think, oh, that went better than I expected, and then suddenly you see the broadcast and they're just like, oh my god, they literally totally mutilated every bit of the story. I think it would have been more impactful. I don't know. What do you think? Anybody? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Damn, I'd never shut anybody up that way before.
How do you mean?
So like, okay, before the reporters leave, that they say, oh yeah, here, you want to see the story, and we'll show you the story, and they watch, and again, you don't even have to see, oh, looks like a good piece. There's maybe footage from the Zocalo, and there's some some footage of
So are you saying they should have asked to see the footage beforehand?
Well, I mean, I think it would have been more impactful for the broadcast to be radically different if they had seen what the story was going to be before.
Yeah, I don't think the probably show has the time to do that. Plus, most reporters will not. There's no way they're going to show you the stuff beforehand.
Yeah,
before the report comes out. No way, not a hope in hell that any real reporter worth their weight is going to do that. Plus, they probably would do. All of the editing would be done back in Earth. They would just catch the raw footage.
All the footage, yeah.
And that would be, that's what you'd say as a reporter. Oh, we just got the raw footage. We're going to edit it back on Earth because the handlers back up. There'll be somebody. Not
their
just
minders.
Randall.
They've got their minders.
Randall edit it however he wants. There's some bigwigs going. You're going to take that out, do this, do that. That are going to edit it. So I don't think that would really fly. Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. Well. All right. Well, that was my one curious question, and I guess I was totally wrong on that.
Okay. Last scene of the episode. Who hated that? Sorry. Did you say
that? I did.
You both? Okay. Go ahead. Tell us why.
It just basically, did we need to see that? Did we need to see that they were upset to the situation? Of course they're going to be upset to the situation if they're watching this transmission. Of course they know they got screwed over to the dawn. Did we actually need to see this situation? No, I don't think so. Like I said, I'm going to throw in on quarterback on how I would have handled this.
I mean, Ivanova walks off first, and then Delenn, and Sheridan just standing there staring at the painting or whatever the hell it is, or maybe that's the view of the garden. I don't know. I think it is a painting though. Anyway,
if he shot the monitor, okay, maybe that might have been
that one. That's kind of what I expected when he came back in. I expected him to just take his PPG out and go bam.
You kind of think
don't take it out on
there
the
we
computer.
go. Roll credits,
Yeah, but
that's not how I would have handled it.
Yeah, I just.
Cam, do you want to going on there?
I was so, I didn't have particularly strong feelings about it. The thing that my thought was that what were they doing the whole time they're watching this outrage? That went on for a half hour. It's like,
That
I
would
would
have been interesting.
It was literally half the show, right?
Yeah.
Or I mean,
22 minutes.
Is that how long that segment was?
Yeah, but the 22-minute mark is when the segment started. So about half the shows are 44, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically it was that last half of the show was the entire.
And a lot of that footage was stuff we'd already seen once before. There was a couple of new things in that footage, like the doctor denying. I think that was a new scene, and of course the whole Garibaldi thing, where he's, which we only kind of touched on, I think, a little bit. We didn't say exactly what he said, but it was pretty damning. We it was like,
you know what? Without spoiling, we'll get a chance to talk about that again in an upcoming episode.
Will we?
Yeah, so I like the final scene because I think, let me correct me if I'm wrong. One of them, Delenn walks out, Ivanova goes and she sort of pats Sheridan on the back.
No, you got that mixed up.
The other way.
It was the other way around.
Yeah.
So he comforts him a little bit, and then he leaves, and then he comes back and he turns off the screen in disgust, and he kind of looks angry there. Yeah. I thought that was good. I mean, the whole turning off of the TV at the end of the episode kind of there's a little bit of that there, but and also his facial expression. I think that's supposed to give us a hint as to how he may operate in the future, how he's maybe learned his lesson, how he's going to be much more aware of what's going on and maybe a little bit stronger. I don't know, but I like that whole part about his friend. One of his friends comforts him. I didn't see a problem with it at all.
I didn't mind it. But you know what? I wouldn't have minded seeing Sheridan react violently to that either, because again, the thing about his parents, when the other people had left, you know what I'm saying? That it's like, that he flips a table or something, because it's like, well, you bastards, you went after my family.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm not against that. I kind of don't like it because Sheridan's not he's not one to lose his emotional control like Londo would, and also he should be aware that this whole thing has been all lies. So he should be thinking that perhaps this last thing is a lie as well. I know that gets counter to what I said earlier, but it might be the only truth in the episode. But that would have to be in the back of his mind.
I don't know. To me, it's kind of. I think Cam is right. I think it would have been best to see him flip a table or something like that, or like I said, shoot the TV. That would have been fitting. Boom, and credit. It would have been.
It would be another way to turn off the TV. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we haven't seen that type of stuff before, but I don't know. It just was. It was an okay scene. I get it, but. That they were just in stunned silence, and I'm like, well, why were they stunned though? They should have expected this,
Well, I mean, stunned silence because of the depth of the lies. Everything was completely taken completely out of context and changed, and except for Garibaldi. That might be stunning for them.
The Garibaldi thing really would have been the icing.
Yeah, that would be stunning to them too. I can't believe. Mike
That would have been
this about us, right?
Yeah.
That would be just as disturbing.
That would have been
not a lie, but still disturbing. Everything in there is just right out the.
That would have been everything else I expected, but that one, that's kind of a stab in the back by Garibaldi, right? That's the way that they should all be taking it. Plus, he did kind of let out the whole Lorien and all the other things, and which is kind of. I don't know. I guess it's not
really a secret, but
not a secret, but too much information.
I love how they, the story talks about how, Sheridan's private army that fleet that he's made up. I mean, like he didn't fight the shadows and just help save the universe, so to speak. Like they just
okay. That's another hole in this entire story. Are people on Earth just completely unaware of what happened with the Shadow War? It's
Apparently.
like they don't even know what happened.
Do they not know that there were planets that were razed to the ground of millions of people died?
Yes,
and billions were at risk.
Right. It seems
stupid humans.
Not credible, right?
Yeah.
Well, signal doesn't go in, signal comes out.
That never works.
Right.
I know it doesn't work in reality, but in this case,
I mean, look at the Soviet era Russia. They had blue jeans and music and whatnot got smuggled in, and East Germany and stuff like that back in the. We lived through that. Those of us that are all of us here, anyways. We remember the fall of the Berlin Wall.
You could say that a good consensus, not everybody, but a good consensus people don't even know that happened.
Yeah, well, but that's it. This goes with the propaganda.
I think Madman brings up a fair point here, because look at our real world today. Like we were talking before, it's like blatant lies. It's like just absolute BS lies, and 50% of the people are gonna just say, "Yep, that's it," and or worse than that. Again, I don't want to get into particular politics or something, but anything comes out and people on the exact same information, and one people will say, "See, that totally supports what I say,"
what I believe,
and other people will say, "Nope, it totally supports what I say." People are irrational. They don't think. I mean, that's what a media-driven world is.
You got to remember, there are several things, and I won't mention it here, but basically there are several things that they keep repeating. And a lot of people believe in this, in several things, and it's been proven false, and they still continue to believe it.
People still believe it,
right. Yeah. That's and so from that perspective, I think, this kind of thing does work.
It's always harder to try and go to change minds after the fact of a false story. It's just kind of like every retraction you ever see from any media outlet is always
page 40
of the sports section or the wanted ads or whatever, and in tiny print, or it's some blurb at 2 a.m. We inaccurately reported this.
You have to remember, and let's take this back to the early days of just right as 24-hour newscasting was starting to begin. When we had the Iraqi war, CNN was the only news source that was able to broadcast out of Iraq. ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, they couldn't get a signal out of there because they were being blocked. CNN figured out a way of how getting around the situation.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for CNN, we wouldn't have known that anything happened, in the war. All
we
would have heard is everything from the White House.
Yeah. I was going to mention that earlier, but that's good. I know. I mean, propaganda. Next to be telling the world is round. Come on, guys, wake up.
You think
it's obviously flat. Just look outside your window. Okay. I was going to say, do we want to go to? Sorry, Cam. Do you want to go to quarterbacking? Or we cover that enough? And we still got final thoughts, and we're already at the 2-hour mark.
Yeah. If anybody has quarterbacking, I say go for it.
Do that real quick.
Yeah, I just think
I don't think I have any. I think I've covered everything that I want to cover on quarterbacking myself. Q, I think you got something, and then Jeff.
Yep. This is how I would have handled this episode. Number one, I would have shown the broadcast first. I would have started out right before opening credits. I would have had Alyssa Hennigan's doing the introduction. And he says, coming up next, and right here on ISN, and then going into the opening credits, doing the whole document, the whole situation on there. We get almost to the end, before the last words, before the last thing on there. We switch back earlier, they'll do like that, go to commercial, come back earlier, you'll say like Babylon 5, 24 hours earlier or whatever, to that point.
Man.
And you see everything that actually did happen in that basically was done, that was twisted, with the exception of we don't, the way it would start, I wouldn't have the Zach situation. Basically, I would just have it jump in that Sheridan shows up in the room with the reporter and says, "Hey, listen, what are you doing here?" Blah, 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 to that point. Then going through the whole situation with Garibaldi, Lanier, the Len, everything to that point. And then when we get toward the end of the situation, regular commercial, come back. We go to the end of the documentary itself, and the reporter going, "These are the things that have happened." Da, da, da. We've gotten breaking news that Sheridan's father's house has burnt down. We don't know anything more of that. So we will continue to monitor this. Please do watch ISN as we continue to bring you breaking news of the Babylon 5 situation. And I would end it that way.
Yeah, that right, a dead end at that point. Boom.
Yeah,
Jeff.
Boom.
And
That's it.
I think that's perfect. And they probably could have compressed some of the report, the ISN report, a little bit. I think some of it just kind of went on a little too much, and it was a little over the top. But yeah, I think Madman's right on this one. I think it would have been better if they had started off and you see the documentary and then you just go 24 hours earlier on Babylon 5. Boom, perfect. That's I didn't even think about that. Kudos to you, man. That would have been a much better way to do this. Where you cut and then they come, you see what actually happened, and then you see the Garibaldi thing, and and what Garibaldi said to the reporter, and then of course the doc denying it, and probably the Garibaldi thing would have been best at the end, at the very end, and that would have been the stab in the back, and then the last thing being about Sheridan's family.
Cam, do you want to comment?
Just the thing about the freeze frames is one thing that I think was an obvious miss. Not having that and working to give the audience the hope that maybe this would be a little bit fair would have been far more effective. So I think it was an easy fix that could have been done.
Yeah, I don't have any comment. I mean, I think I've made my personal comments about how, during the show already, how I might have changed things or whatever. I don't have a problem with Madman's way of doing it. I don't see that either one of them are necessarily, more better than the other. It's just a different way of doing it. I don't necessarily see your suggestion as necessarily better. Maybe a little, maybe not. I don't have a problem with the way that they did it this way. But I wouldn't have a problem if they had done it the way you suggested. All right, as that's it for everybody on that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do sorry. We usually do final thoughts and then trivia.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mistake. Final thoughts. Who wants to start? Jeff.
Let me go last. No, let me go last. Yeah, okay. I want to hear what everybody else is.
Yeah. All right. So I'm
going to see if anybody can change my number.
Yeah. Make sure you get your number right.
I'll take it. This happens to be one in my listing, one of the worst episodes in the lot, especially for season 4 itself. The back and forth to the situation, some of the things, the way they were handled, the freeze frame of the picture, it's just all gobbledygook, to on this episode, like I said, we've had other episodes where we've had ISN on Babylon 5, and the other episode worked a lot better. And then the interview with Sinclair back in season 1, that worked out pretty good to the situation. Here, it's like this got slapped together in the writer's room in 30 minutes, and just didn't even think to some of the issues that were going on that was left out. Like I said before, I would have done it in reverse, shown the documentary first, and finished off, left out a couple of scenes, and that's it. Done it there. This will be my lowest rating, 5 out of 10.
All right. Cam, do we really want to let Jeff go last? Cam,
I want to go last.
That's fine. Okay. This episode has really fallen in my recent viewing compared to when I originally watched it, which, again, the obvious like how could you do that thing was still there back then, but I thought it was more impactful. Maybe I am. Maybe it's a matter of not holding up because of the social media age, and that the things are just undeniably obvious now, whereas before they were just a little naive. I'm not sure. But in the discussion here, I liked it less and less. It's like this just doesn't make sense. The story doesn't hold up well. I, I like the idea of calling out a corrupt media because it is corrupt and it is needed, right? And so I like the theme of it. But then again, I'm sure if someone else watched this, they would take a completely different. They would point fingers at a completely different thing than I would. So I don't know that it has a point that has value as a story at this point. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay, myself, I will note that according to IMDb, there are 4 other episodes this season that are rated lower on IMDb than this episode. Now, not by much, only by like a couple tenths of a point, but it is not the worst rated episode. And coming up, we're doing episode 9 next week. But episode 10, 11, and 12 are all rated lower, slightly lower than this one. So I take that as you will. I didn't think it was that bad. It wasn't great. I overall, I kind of enjoyed the episode with the whole, propaganda and stuff. I mean, there were some obviously big holes that we talked about, but I would give it 6.5. So maybe a little higher than Cam, but no, not a great episode. Could have been deleted, maybe depending on what we see next. But it wasn't that bad. Yeah, all right. Jeff, you can now copy me.
This was absolute, without any doubt, 100% the worst episode I've seen of this series, bar none. I have not seen a worse episode yet. This was horrible. The whole. I get the whole premise of it, which is maybe it's only saving grace, but it was just executed horribly, horrendously.
Worse than the boxing episode?
Yes, this was worse than TKO. Dude, I tell you, I was on the verge. I'm going to give it a 3, and I was on the verge of giving it a 2. That's how bad this episode is.
Well, why did you have to go last for that? Is it really had to go last for that?
Because if someone else gave it a 3, he'd give it a 2.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I would have. Honestly, I would.
Outpost gave it a 3. He saw Outpost giving it. Boo.
No. I have written down here that I was going to do it. I was going to do a 2, and then I'm like, okay, there's a couple of breadcrumbs in there that are kind of, okay, yeah, they pointed out it's been 100 years since Psycho. That was in the.
Were you afraid I'd kick you off the show if you get it? So that's why you wanted me to go before you? It's like,
no, I wasn't afraid you were going to throw me out an airlock.
Without your clothes.
Without my clothes, strip naked, without, yeah. it just is, the dialogue was corny, and it's like the Sheridan and Delenn sitting, like you said, just they're kumbaya and holding hands and all giddy, like, and it's just like, oh, that's the decorum, and this is a military leader and she's an ambassador. There should no, the perception is just gonna be, just everything about this, without a doubt, the worst episode.
Okay, well, let's just let the viewers know that we'll have an open space next week for a permanent guest co-panelist, and if anybody wants to apply for that job. Applications.
I know somebody in the chat that does.
Now. Send it to camera myself.
Yes.
Anyway,
this was a point.
Yeah,
Outpost is right.
it's fine. That's no problem with that. You don't got to be afraid. That's yeah.
Right. I'm just one bit of pushback. I think that despite all the criticism of it, I think that in terms of showing that where Earth is and what they're willing to do for to Babylon 5 and to get at these people, I that did come across to me. So I don't think it's pointless. I think that it wasn't well done, but that point is valid for the overall story.
That's why it got a 3 from me instead of a
Yeah.
2.
And to be honest, like to
I'm
me,
serious.
I like to see these different episodes. I thought the ISN complete episode, the one from before that was all ISN, that was a little bit interesting to mix things up a little bit, and this one was done slightly differently, but it was still in that same vein with the half and half. And I thought, hey, he's trying to do something different. Good on him. So I appreciated that aspect myself as well. So.
He tried, but it just didn't work.
All right.
So.
Okay. We beat that to death. All right, let's do trivia real quick, and we'll get out of here. Everyone thought that this show would be finishing early. It'd be short, but it's not. Okay, so questions for this episode here. Who shows Dan Randall, that's the reporter, around Babylon 5? We answered that. Yeah. What race does the statue Garibaldi is tasked to find belong to? Who does Garibaldi say appears if you speak of him? Speak his name. Who is the North American president in This Year in History? This is kind of a tough one. You got to watch the part where at the beginning of the news broadcast, they say This Year in History, and they talk about various things that happened 300, 100, whatever years ago. And this is interesting. I'm sure it's probably Jeff's favorite president. I'm just giving it away there. What is the very last action of this episode, which we talked about? So, pretty, maybe easy questions. All right. Yeah. That's what we got. What else do we have? Who wants to, Jeff, what do you got coming up on your show?
This Sunday, we've got Alan Hammock coming on, and he was one of the old school guys at TSR back in the day. He worked with the guest who's coming the following week, but he was an editor for TSR and wrote several adventures and worked on Top Secret and other stuff like that. So it's going to be a fun chat. I'm looking forward to that. He was there for several years, and in the late 70s and into the early 80s. So.
All right. Sunday. Check it out, everybody. Madman.
Of course, we have Madman Show with summer edition. We're going on today. If you didn't catch it, the Mercedes Carrera trial update. We haven't done it in a while. Do check it out. There's a lot of information on that. Switch me back to camera for a second. Okay.
Sorry.
Tomorrow, Black Lagoon. We're going to be talking about Black Lagoon. Black Lagoon has been removed from Crunchyroll. Sony's added again. In fact, we just found out 4 other animes have been removed, which is hard to get. Right now, Black Lagoon is running out online. If you want to get a copy of this, right now, get it before the prices go up and they run out of inventory. Right now, this is a major situation. Next week, of course, we will be tackling the box office, the Odyssey, obviously, and we haven't gotten a main subject yet, so there's probably going to be something else we'll be talking about on Tuesday. On Tuesday on Madman Cafe.
All right, and don't forget Jason's show. I think he's out for the week. He's working, so I don't know that he's going to have a show. But keep an eye. Sometimes he comes out and he puts something out there real quick.
He said if there's anything major breaking, he will do a video.
All right, so maybe you should see something. So keep an eye on his channel. Keep subscribed and notifications on. All right, and as well, don't forget Nerd at Night. Outpost Nerd in the chat giving people a hard time tonight. Go check out his channel and give him a hard time back. For us.
He did a great review too. He did an unboxing video of the stuff that.
That was today, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna watch it and I missed it. I had to go. I was trying to watch it live, but I didn't see it. So yeah, go check that out and find out all the goodies that he got from Jeff. How many? 7 of them?
No, not that.
Something like that. No,
I don't know. He was One of the big winners, though.
He was a big winner. That's right. And don't forget, Dean. He'll be on the show next week. And Destiny's Dispatch. Dean is up to a lot lately. He's been doing a bunch of different shows. Didn't he have a show today?
I think he did have something today.
Yeah, I forget.
His anniversary thing was yesterday.
That was the other day. Yeah, he had a good show. He had somebody interesting on. They were talking about. Yeah, check it out.
Sure. he was on another show. He was on another.
He was on another show. Okay, no, it wasn't his own. But yeah, check out his stuff. Cam, do you have anything you want to mention? Did I miss it? I didn't miss anybody. I think I got everybody.
No, I don't have a channel.
Okay, Cam's got nothing. Don't forget this show. I got to fix this up. So this Babylon 5 show at Wednesdays at 10 Eastern, not 11. And of course, the Top Lofty Lounge will have a show for you this week. What it'll be about, I still haven't got it sorted out. I've got some ideas, but we will have a show. And I will get on that and be a little more circumspect with telling you guys what the show will be about more than 5 minutes before it starts. And next week we're going to be talking about episode 9. What is episode 9?
And guess what it's going to be? We're on the road to Mars. We're going to have some fun doing like road to Rio. Bob Hope. We're getting that next week.
Don't give up your day job.
It's a road show with two of our favorite characters on the show. If you can guess which one.
No excuses, Snob. That's the thing I do the best.
Oh no, it's going to be the Doc and
so it'll be
shoot.
It's called Atonement. So stay tuned for that. Maybe we'll have a huge difference in opinions between 6.5 and 3 on that next show. We'll see. It'll be interesting. All right. Does anyone have anything else? I think that's it for the show. That's all we got.
For those of you who've been watching my show, my producer, Jay, he's back from the ER. He's resting comfortably.
Oh, that's good.
In the room. So, he's out of the oxygen tank and
giving him lots of tuna and
he's been eating a lot this afternoon.
It's good. That's good.
And just be aware there may be a pop-up Snob tomorrow or some other day in the soon. So keep those notifications for this channel on. Might be something coming up in the next day, 2 or few. Who knows? We'll see what happens. All right. Thanks everybody for watching the show. Hope you appreciated it. Hope you enjoyed it. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.